I'd like to thank everyone for coming. My name is Adam Lowy. I'm with the law firm Berry & Lowy. We are honored to be here with our clients, Nathaniel Sanders Sr. and Yolanda Sanders, who are the mother and father of the late Nate Sanders Jr. To my right is Betty Sanders, who was his grandmother, and behind are his siblings, Jacoby Taylor and Destiny Taylor. I apologize. Jacoby Taylor and Destiny Sanders. I'm here to announce on my client's behalf that we have filed a federal wrongful death lawsuit against Officer Leonardo Quintana and the City of Austin related to the wrongful and senseless killing of Nate Sanders Jr. on May 11th, 2009. It is our belief, and it is alleged in this lawsuit, that Officer Quintana employed excessive force the morning he shot and killed Nate Sanders. We believe the officer's actions were without justification and were totally unnecessary for dealing with the situation that was at hand. I want to go through what we believe to be the main factual allegations in this case and discuss what we believe occurred as alleged in our lawsuit. As been reported before, there were 3 African-American males in a car. It was driven by Michael Franklin, who was the driver and who was awake. The passenger in the car, in the passenger seat, was Sir Lawrence Smith. He was sound asleep. Likewise, the passenger in the back seat was Nate Sanders Jr. He too was sound asleep. This car went into the Walnut Creek apartment complex, and what Mr. Franklin was doing was dropping off his sleeping passengers at a friend's house. Mr. Franklin then noticed the police car had gotten behind him, and this was a car driven by police officer Leonardo Quintana. It is very important to note that Officer Quintana did not have his lights on, and he did not have his sirens on. He simply approached Mr. Franklin's car and pulled up behind it. At that point, Mr. Franklin exited the car, and Officer Quintana approached him and detained him. It is important to note that Mr. Franklin was not arrested for anything. There was reports earlier that this car, there was a suspicion that individuals were shooting out of this car. We believe these allegations are categorically false. This car had done absolutely nothing wrong. At that point, Officer Quintana put Mr. Franklin in the back seat, and then he decided to approach the back of the Mercedes where Nate Sanders was asleep. I want to be very clear about this. Nate Sanders was sound asleep in that car. Officer Quintana did not have his police lights on. He did not have any sort of siren on, and he did not use a bullhorn in an attempt to say, "Wake up, get out of the car." Instead, and in clear violation of Austin Police Department policy, he approached the car, opened the door, and physically tried to pull Nate Sanders out of the car. At a certain point, Nate Sanders awoke, and he clearly had no idea what was going on because there was a very large and very strong man attempting to pull him out of a car. And Nate Sanders reacted the way anyone else would have reacted in that situation. His defensive mechanism was to move back into the car to escape the hold of the police officer. At that point, it is based on our allegation that Officer Quintana panicked and literally opened fire into that car, shooting and killing Nate Sanders from a very close range. It is our belief, as alleged in this lawsuit, that Officer Quintana's actions were totally unjustified, they were totally unnecessary, and the reality is this: if he had simply followed APD policy and put on the sirens, put on the bullhorn, woken Nate Sanders up, we would not be here today, and Nate Sanders would be alive. I believe it was a complete breakdown in law enforcement. I believe it was a complete breakdown in APD protocol, and it led to the wrongful death of Nate Sanders. I want to address 3 more points in addition to what I just covered, and that's as follows. There has been some erroneous reports in the media about where Nate Sanders was shot. I can report today that Nate Sanders was shot both in the body and in the head. There is a headshot, and it's important, I believe, for people to realize that. The second point, these cases are often very difficult because there generally is not eyewitnesses to these situations when they occur. I can tell you that based on our investigation, there are numerous eyewitnesses that saw what happened. And these eyewitnesses support the allegations we are making in this lawsuit. And the eyewitness testimony in this case will be critical and very important. And the final point is this. I know I speak on behalf of the Sanders family when I say that we believe that the Austin Police Department as a whole does a very good job every day protecting and serving this community. But the reality is this. When officers do not follow APD protocol, when they do not follow the rules, tragedies like this occur. And we believe that because Officer Quintana did not follow the rules, this led to the wrongful and senseless death of Nate Sanders. And we are hoping in this federal lawsuit to hold the officer and the city responsible for what occurred and hold them accountable. At this point, before I open up for questions from me, I want Mr. Sanders to say a few words about the lawsuit and give his thoughts.
First of all, we would like to give thanks unto God, our higher power, which keeps us. Our church, the First Pentecostal Church of Austin, with our pastor, District Elder Ruby F. Hall, praying with us. The community for supporting us. We ask that you all continue to support, and we're looking for the truth to be told. We would like to know, how did our son go from asleep in the back of a car to shot dead?
Any questions?
In speaking with the Austin Police Department, they say that their policy leaves it up to the officer's discretion when they approach somebody as to putting on their lights and sirens. You say here it is in clear violation. What are you citing to support that?
Well, it is our understanding of Austin Police Department policy. I'm not going to cite you a specific part of the policy. It is in the policy. It is based on experts that we have talked to, not just with the Austin Police Department, but police departments in general. Here's the thing to keep in mind. The whole idea, or the whole basis, apparently, as to why this officer approached the car is the allegation that people were shooting guns out of the car. We, of course, believe that is totally false. But if it's true, then that is a felony situation, and there is a certain set of standards and steps that a police officer has to follow. And what they should not have done is approach it without giving notice. And we believe it's clear that he was asleep and that the police officer realized he was asleep but still made that mistake.
Quintana said that he was reaching for a weapon. Is there a weapon?
I will answer twofold. First of all, eyewitness testimony is going to dispute the allegation that there was a weapon. There are eyewitnesses that will say he did not have a weapon. Second of all, to this day, I have not seen any evidence that there was a weapon. You heard what the Austin Police Department had to say. My law firm sent a letter to their attorneys requesting evidence of this gun, and they refused to provide any evidence. That's fine. That's their legal position. We will deal with that in the lawsuit. But as of today, I have not seen any evidence that there was a gun.
Why file suit now instead of waiting till the investigation is complete and getting more details of what police say happened? Why now?
Because the reason we move forward now is we conducted our own investigation on what happened. And what our law firm discovered is what we are alleging in this complaint. And we do not need to wait for the Austin Police Department to conclude its investigation because we feel there's a good faith basis of moving forward with this federal civil rights suit right now. I look forward to seeing what the Austin Police Department has to say, but that will not affect this lawsuit moving forward.
By filing suit now, you're hoping to get access to APD's investigation?
Yes, we are going to, as I said earlier, we wanted to get the evidence that they have about this shooting. We approached their attorneys. Their attorneys have taken the legal position that they do not need to give us that evidence. That's fine. That's their legal position. I disagree with that position, and that's why I want to get this before a judge as soon as possible and allow a judge to make the determination.
Chief Acevedo said there was a gun on the scene in the vehicle. Are the officers lying?
I don't know. I'm not going to say the officers are lying. I'm telling you what we have learned at this point. I will also say this, and I find this very interesting. My law firm handled the Kevin Brown case, in which that was the young man who was killed by Sergeant Olson. If you recall in that case, the initial defense that the Austin Police Department put forward is that Kevin Brown had a gun in his waistband and he was reaching for it. That proved to be false. Likewise, in this case, the defense they are putting forward is that Nate Sanders had a gun in his waistband and he was reaching for it. I believe it is false, I believe it is not correct, and I believe it is more than a coincidence that is the same legal position.
Can you please talk to us a little bit more about racial profiling and these numbers in regard to targeting African American and Hispanic people more than whites?
Well, I think the evidence is very clear, and I would actually lead you to the Department of Justice investigation that occurred. When you look at these police shootings in Austin, tragically, they are not happening to white kids in Westlake. They are happening to children of color and minorities in places like East Austin or Northeast Austin. And the Department of Justice investigated because of that, and I believe that there's enough allegations to go forward to consider this a civil rights situation, and invariably we will let the jury decide if that's the case.
Why specifically are you bringing suit against the city? Is it because of that, of what you're talking about?
It's because of that, and also because the officer worked for the city.
The officer was Hispanic. Does that play a role
In what?
in the allegations that there's racial profiling and that he may have been targeted simply because of the color of his skin?
Well, we can let the officer speak as to what he was thinking as he approached. I think that it transcends race and how certain police officers deal with suspects or individuals, not even suspects, who are African American or Hispanic. And look, every time these shootings occur, it is generally with an African American young person or Hispanic young person. And I think that that's something the city needs to be concerned about.
The U.S. Department of Justice has investigated several previous shootings, in part based on requests from the NAACP, from family members, that type of thing. Has the family, the Sanders family, or will the Sanders family ask for a U.S. DOJ inquiry into this shooting?
That's too early to say. I wanted to get the ball rolling with this federal lawsuit. We will leave those legal options open for later.
In the filing, you mentioned Officer Quintana's prior, allegations of violence that he's had. What can you speak on behalf of that?
I can't get into a lot of stuff about that other than what's been reported in regards to the incident with the fellow officer. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff I cannot get into because we're now in the middle of a lawsuit, so I'll have to leave it at that.
Can you tell us how many times you believe Officer Quintana fired?
I cannot get into that. I can tell you that I believe it was numerous shots that were fired, and I do not want to put a number on it other than to say the witnesses are stating that it was numerous shots, not just one or two. I believe it was an incident of an officer who had lost control and who was panicking and was opening fire.
How many times was Sanders shot?
We believe he was shot at least 2 times.
When we asked the chief, he said that there was one patrol car that actually did have a dash cam rolling and caught a, quote, a significant part of the shooting. Your eyewitnesses, do they have any comments on how many patrol cars were actually there and if there were 3?
I can't get into that, of what they said. That stuff's confidential at this point. I will tell you that we've heard for a while now there's this police video camera out there. I don't know why it's not being released. The fact is, Officer Quintana did not have his video camera on. I'm very confident in saying that, and I believe that violated APD policy.
Did police offer you or the family any reason as to why they believe his camera was not on?
No.
Yeah, I read the lawsuit and didn't see a dollar amount. Why is that when you're asking for everything from funeral expenses to pain and suffering?
The main thing that the family is looking for in this suit is to figure out the truth about what happened and to allow and make the people who were responsible for Nate Sanders' wrongful death be held accountable. In regards to what we are seeking, we will let the jury decide that. That is up for the jury to decide. So that's why we didn't put it in there.
Will seeking financial damages give the family some type of comfort?
No, I believe that what they are mostly concerned about is making sure that this never happens again. I cannot put into words, and you can see them right here. how big of a tragedy this has been. I mean, to lose an 18-year-old, the way they lost the 18-year-old, to have this so high profile, so public, and then to not be able to figure out what happened and have the APD refuse to give answers is a experience I would not wish upon anyone.
Now, there were some things that may or may not have stemmed off this incident, one of them being someone who had called 911 and threatened police. Inadvertently, because of that, there was information released that Mr. Sanders was the member of a gang, which started a whole slew of inquiry there. And I just want to know, is that part of the impetus of this lawsuit? Is there, in sort of getting a connection here to the racial profile?
No, I will say this in response. I believe that APD's attempt to portray Nate Sanders in this way is disgraceful and it's despicable. The reality is this: they are attempting to deflect attention from what happened on May 11th by making these allegations that he was a registered gang member and such. These are false accusations. They are not true. And I would ask APD to focus on what happened on May 11th, because as we know, they are not doing so right now, and that's why we brought suit. Take 2 more questions.
There was some inflammatory language in the lawsuit, particularly the part about Nathaniel Sanders would not have been shot if he had been white. Do you think that's something to say, considering the racial thing that's going on in certain parts of the community about people being really upset about this?
Well, I can tell you that my clients are very upset about this, and I do not believe that if this had happened to 3 kids in Westlake, in which you had 2 kids sleeping in the car and there was a cop who approached, that some kid would be killed. And that's what we believe, that's our allegations, and I believe the evidence will bear it out.
Adam, if the department is deliberately not releasing information, why do you think Chief Acevedo was holding these meetings, you know, the public forum yesterday? What's the purpose of that event?
Well, I'll let you all speculate on that. I will just tell you, I would ask the APD to release the information. This is a type of incident that it does not take 60 to 90 days to work out. I believe this information should get released, and through this lawsuit, we are going to get this information, and we can go from there.
Bottom line,
Specifically, what information do you want? What would you like to see? Do you want to see the dash cam video? Break it down for us.
We want to see all the information, the car, we want to inspect the car, we want to see the video camera, we want to get the statement from the police officer, every single thing we want to see. And last question.
yeah, that's it. Bottom line, why do you think APD is not giving you this information?
You need to ask their lawyers. APD is very good lawyers, they're very capable lawyers, they have their legal position, and that's fine. We have our legal position, that's why we are in court. This is a case that will get resolved peacefully, and this is why the federal court system is in place, to resolve disputes like this. So it will get resolved at a certain point, but you need to ask them. Thank you.